Is your business struggling to stand out from the crowd online? At Webamax, we specialize in turning clicks into customers. From SEO and PPC to social media management and stunning web design, we've got you covered. Boost your online presence and drive real results. Ready to take your business to the next level? Visit Webamax.com. That's Webimax.com for a free digital analysis. Rule the web with Webamax.com.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Welcome back, Ram fans. This is Rams Up, your favorite LA Rams podcast. We are proud members of the Fans First Sports Network. That's fansfirstsports.com. You can also follow us on YouTube. Our channel is at LA Rams Up. I'm your host, Mark. You'll hear from my co-host, Tom, on occasion as well. Hey, we're not Rams insiders. We're just longtime fans who love talking about our Los Angeles Rams. Let's get to it. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Mark from Rams Up here. I got Paul Walia on board from Long Island, another segment of Walia's World. What's going on, Paul?
Loving it out here. Weather is beautiful. Summer is here, and I am loving it. Countdown to Ram football.
Yeah, I mean, it finally got nice here, too. I think we've had a handful of days over the last week that were just like perfect weather. Couldn't think of any way of improving the weather. You know, low 70s, a little breeze. Man, it's been awesome. Great time of year. So you missed the round table last week with Ian and Tom, and we got into the pistol a little bit. We're going to talk about that later on. We're going to get through some items here that have been bothering me, things that I think are worth talking about with someone who knows the X's and O's a little bit better than I do. And that's where you come in, Paul. You ready? Going to put you on the spot a little bit, probably. Yeah, okay. So the first thing I wanted to ask is, and I mentioned this in the round table, kind of as just an offhand comment. You know, we were talking about where Quentin Lake ends up, and you know what role Darion Kendrick can play, and so on. And a lot of it is going to have to do with whether Tre White is ready to go, right? If Tre White is ready day one, I think it's, you know, Darius Williams on the other side. Quentin Lake probably drops back to safety. And you have one of these other guys fill in at the star, Russ Yeast. I don't think Kobe Durant, you know, Cam Kinchins, maybe he comes on a little bit later. But if Tre White can't go, how do you, I'll let you take it from here. If Tre White can't go, what's your best guess what our secondary looks like on day one? And for those of you who don't know, Tre'Davious White's recovering from a pretty serious injury. Looking good, but I think it's still up in the air whether he's going to be ready on opening day.
Yeah, so look, the T. White signing is very, very significant for the Rams. And I think it's for two reasons. If you look at his career, he's played for 7 years. He has 18 interceptions. He's a pass breakup king, double digits every year he was fully healthy. That's what he's bringing to the Rams. He is a legitimate starting corner. So T Money and D Will give the Rams quality corners. The issue is if he can't go, I think Kobe Durant's going to be the guy. There's no question. Behind them, there's not a lot of depth. That's the issue. The Rams are very, very light at corner. Probably the most significant free agent move that's going to be coming around the corner will be probably another cornerback signing, an affordable cornerback signing, right, to sort of round out the troop. But overall, I don't think T. White's going to be ready for week one. If there's that's just my inkling. I think they're going to roll maybe a week or two, maybe even 3 without him, and then try to get him ready for the long term. I don't think they're, unless he's 100% good to go, I don't think he's going to see the field until he's ready to go. But once he's there, the dimension he's going to bring to the Rams defense, and it was purposeful. They want turnovers. Tre White can bring that. He's great in coverage. He can play it any way you want. He's physical. If you play like that sort of cover 2 setup, he loves to crash down. He can play off ball. He can even play man. He's just a great corner. There's no question about it. And it was a smart move by the Rams.
Well, but if he can't go, and Quentin Lake, all indications are he's going to be the starting safety, I think. One of the starting safeties, Cam Kinchin's probably not ready to go yet, at least at this point. So that leaves Darion Kendrick or Russ Yeast. Russ Yeast probably the star?
So the way you're saying it, and you see how your voice sort of dropped a little bit, yeah. That's how we all feel, right? Because that's right. So, yeah, I think they're getting these players valuable experience and exposure, but I think the reality is if that's the way they're going to roll, it's not going to go well.
So it's probably it's probably going to be Darion Kendrick and Kobe Durant battling for that starting corner. You're giving the nod to Kobe.
I think it's going to be Kobe.
Yeah, and then Yeast, or I think they've been trying Kendrick at the star a little bit in camp. Yeah. That's what I heard anyways.
You could also see, I mean, the idea, I think this is the reason for Lake, is that they want Lake on the field all the time. That's the rationale. That's my opinion. And that's what I had said from the beginning, is that there's nothing against the star. The kid can play the star, but you have to remember, is the star going to be on the field for the entire duration of the game? That's the issue. So Lake, the way they view him, I think, is as a legitimate starter, and they want him on the field all the time. Now, well, here's the interesting scenario, right? If K2, like you said, the other Cam, if he's ready to go, right, and they play him at the free, then you have a lot of flexibility. So you might see K2 get a lot of reps in that situation role where they drop Lake down to the star and then maybe play K2 up top. So they have a lot of flexibility. Yeast played very, very well at that dime linebacker spot. He really did. And I can even see Cam Kitchens getting some reps there. I think he'd fit in really nice there as well. So I think what the Rams are doing is really trying to build in as much versatility as they can to this roster and to this defense, which is a smart move on their part. Taking advantage of the fact that Yeast now has some valuable experience. And they've done it before with safeties. Look at Nick Scott. Look at all these other guys that they played, right? So they've gotten a lot of value out of those lower round picks. And I think that's what they're trying to do with this this current setup. I don't think anything's going to be finalized until well into camp.
And there may be surprises we may not know until that first snap. I remember still being surprised. Jordan Fuller running out there as the starting safety ahead of Taylor Rapp, whatever year that was. Okay, so we've decided, I guess, it's going to be Durant, Williams, and on the back end, Quentin Lake and Cameron Curl, and the star, maybe Russ Yeast from the get-go. That's our best guess right now. Okay.
Yeah, I think Kendrick would, like I said last time, I think Kendrick could play start. I'll tell you why. He's very good. Ball in front of him. Where he gets in trouble is when he has that deep coverage responsibility role. So in spot, like sprinkling him in and playing on that type of scenario may do him well.
Okay. The next question, sticking with the defense, and we've added some edge rushers the last 2 years, haven't we? You know, Byron Young, Jared Verse, Nick Hampton, O'Shawn Mathis. And then there's Michael Hoecht. And I still wonder if we're going to have a new role for Hoecht this year. Or is he I can't imagine he's going to keep the starting job on the edge. He's going to get rotated in a lot, I'm sure. And, maybe Nick Hampton and O'Shawn Mathis, one of those guys stepped up. And then Brandon Jackson. Got Brandon Jackson there.
Jackson.
Yeah, so it seems like, if, even one or two of these guys, Mathis, Hampton, Jackson, step up and prove that they can contribute, we're going to have a surplus of edge rushers, really. And Michael Hoecht was always a little bit out of position. And if I'm not mistaken, he comes into this season on this roster, the career leader as far as sacks go. But
So,
how do you foresee the Rams changing up the usage of Hoyt, or do you see them changing it up at all?
so one thing I will say, please refer to him by his nickname. Ever since he flashed that LA sign, he's a fan favorite. Hollywood Hoyt, that's his nickname. So Hollywood, I just think that they have to find a way to get him on the field. This kid can play football. He's got great size. And I think he brings even more versatility to this defense. Now, look, he's played outside. He's proven he can get after the passer. He's proven that he can play the run. You know, the pass coverage part of it, listen, he's a big player. So I think you're going to see him play down a little bit more. I think the Rams are going to use him in a hybrid role. I think he's definitely going to get a lot of burn. I think Action Jackson, try to keep that kid off the field. Just try. Right? It's going to get ugly. Action Jackson's going to find his way on the field some way or another. The player I think that's going to surprise is O'Shawn Mathis. I really think the athleticism I saw last year, just the size package, I mean, this kid, they're going to have to find a spot for this kid as well. So you're right. They have a tremendous amount of depth. But the reality is that Hollywood Hoyt has produced when he's been given the chance to play. I think he gives great depth behind Monster Zero and Bars. So I think that's the way. I think that's the way to go. I think let this kid play in a nice rotational mix. Think of that rotation. It's scary. You got Bars, you got Monster Zero. Bars, by the way, is verse, right? You got Monster Zero, you got Hollywood, and you got Action Jackson. That's 4 guys going after it. I could roll with that. So I think Hoyt used to play, he came into the NFL as a down lineman. So the ability for him to drop down into the dirt, right, put that hand down and get after as well as stand up, I think that's incredibly valuable to the Rams. And I think he's going to play a lot.
Yeah, and I agree. And I almost feel bad questioning his role and because of the things you mentioned, he's yeah, that game against the 49ers, that was special. Awesome. And he plays hard. The Rams have a bunch of guys that put the pedal to the metal, and he's one of them. So I hope they find a role for him. I hope they find a way to keep him on the field. At the same time, hoping that 3 or 4 of these edge rushers, these young edge rushers, pan out and really produce. So the next question, now, did you see episode 3 of Behind the Grind yet?
Not as yet.
Okay. I was really impressed with Chris Shula. I mean, it's just a few snippets here and there of him coaching up his guys. Mm-hmm. And, you know, this is a new deal for him, right? This is a big responsibility for a young coach. And I have a good feeling about him, but it's a big unknown. It's really a big risk for the Rams, right? To hand the reins of that defense to him. So what do you think? And I don't know if you'd have any inside information or an angle on this at all. What do you think we're going to be saying about Chris Shula in 7 months? You think he's up to it?
So you mean after he gets a chance to hold up the trophy? So
yeah, that would be a good marker.
So the Shula hiring to me really was about familiarity. He's familiar with the scheme. He's familiar with the team. McVay's familiar with him. There's a comfort level there, and I think that was important going into the season. So that's number one. Look at the position he's coached, linebackers. And now we just talked about the strength of the team to some degree, right? The linebacker position, right, is very, very strong now. You mix in Ernest Jones, it's a very, very solid lineup. You know, if you take a look at the Rams starting D-line, also very, very solid. So I think Shula's definitely got some weapons to play with this year. I think he's a smart, innovative guy. I think Chris Shula is going to be given the green light to dial it up a little bit more. And I think the Raheem Morris sort of atmosphere is still there. Raheem Morris, I don't think gets enough credit. He was a very intelligent defensive coordinator, played a very smart, savvy game. with what he had. I think Chris Shula actually has more weapons than Raheem Morris ever had. So I like the fit. And I'll be very honest, when they announced Chris Shula, I was sort of puzzled. I was like, wow, they didn't go for like somebody with a little bit more notoriety. But but when you think about it long term as a complement to the offense, it does make sense. I think McVay is comfortable with Shula. Shula's open to take input from McVay. So I think that's another part of it. I think McVay wanted a little bit more of input into what the defense was doing. But I think Shula is a good fit, not just for what the Rams want to do, but for the current type of players that the Rams have. You saw that. You had mentioned the snippet. He's a positive guy, just like Raheem Morris was. He works well with the young players. He knows how to mold the psyche of the defense. He stays positive, like I said. And I think that's important. More importantly, he's very even keel. When you have someone like McVay, who is nonstop, all energy, you need somebody like Shula, right, to sort of offset that. So I like Shula's demeanor. To me, he comes across much more, I don't want to use the word intelligent, but much more knowledgeable than I ever anticipated. So I'm fairly positive about it. Listen, game time will reveal everything, but I think it's a good fit. And I think the key word here is familiarity. And I think that's going to pay dividends for the Rams in the long term.
Yeah, it could be special, actually, when the Dolphins come to town. And I'm sure their announcing crew will be talking a lot about Chris Shula. And the one thing in that I did take away from the Behind the Grind is he accentuates immediate feedback, good and positive, and he'll talk about, if you haven't seen it yet, that's a key point. And another part of that, I'm not for this episode, but I think you'll enjoy the running back room and the piece on the running backs. And it jumped out. It really struck me. I guess I knew this, but hadn't really thought about it. We have a really strong running back room, and that coach, man, he has that group humming. That's going to be a lot of fun too. We'll talk about that another episode, maybe. And that kind of leads into the next subject. And this is, I know you wanted to talk about, and we're going to talk about the pistol. You already, before we started here, you were chomping at the bit to talk about the pistol and how much everybody else is talking about the pistol all of a sudden. And I wanted to call out, and a lot of you viewers, listeners probably already know this, but just for you that don't, the 12, 22 personnel, the 11 personnel, what we're talking about here is that first number is the number of running backs on the field, the second number, the number of tight ends. And hey, I'm going to let you talk about the pistol all you want, but I want to make sure we answer this question as well. Do you think we're going to see more 12 personnel this year? And that ties into the pursuit of Bowers, the tight end, perhaps, in the draft. And someone has suggested that we may even get into more 22 personnel, the drafting of Blake Corum pointing towards that. And my research, if you want to call it that, indicates that the 22, usually you're talking about a fullback and a running back, not two backs like Kyron and Blake on the field at the same time. But hey, what do I know? So that's why I'm turning it over to you. That's a lot to dump on you. More 12 personnel. How would we potentially use 22 personnel and, the pistol in general? You have it. You have the floor, Paul.
Yeah, and shout out, and Ram Nation, shout out to my colleagues. Did a great job on the last segment talking about the pistol. And it was a great segment altogether. Fantastic job as always. So I think what's interesting when we talk about McVay and his offense, right, and we talk about the different, whether they go 12, 11, 22, is that when the way the Rams utilize their personnel is very, very unique. So whether or not they're in a traditional two tight end formation, the way they use their wide receivers, they use their wide receivers sort of like tight ends. We have seen that. We saw that with Puka. We saw that with Cooper, right? Going in and chipping D ends, going in and leading in the hole. We saw that when Ben Sco was there. So I think it's sort of, to really understand and to answer this question, you have to understand first what the Rams do and what is like sort of the staple of their offense. And the one thing that I think sometimes people overlook about the Rams is this. One big issue is the NFL substitution rule. The NFL substitution rule says that if the offense substitutes a player, that they have to give the defense a chance to substitute a player. And people overlook that when they take a look at the Rams offense, because that's a major component of why Sean McVay does what he does. So think about this for a second. His philosophy is, I want to stay in my 11. You want to know why? I'm going to force this defense now, because I don't have the luxury of catching them off guard via substitution, right? I'm going to catch them in their nickel. I'm going to force them to play nickel full time. That's his goal by staying in the 11. His job is in that 11 to have enough players as a unit that they can run whatever they need to run out of that 11. So that's like the core component when you talk about the Rams, is that he uses that base 11 because his mindset is, I'm going to run everything out of the 11 so I don't have to substitute, so that defense gets stuck out there with their nickel. And I'm going to carve apart that nickel. That's why the running game is so important to the Rams, because to exploit that nickel, what do you have to do? You got to loosen them up by what? Running the football, right? Take advantage of hopefully smaller personnel being out there. So what does that mean? They use their wide receivers like tight ends. When they do use tight ends, they're going to plug them in and line them up and have them move around just like wide receivers do. So it's a very unique scenario. So out of the 11, the Rams can run, the Rams can pass, the Rams can run that beautiful jet sweep that we love. So they can do a lot of different things out of their base 11 without having to try and change that base core format. From that, what they try to do is, at first blush, it's the same formation 2 and 2 right off the bat. The idea is they don't want to give anything away early. Then they use the motion and the changing of formations to have the defense tip their hand. So what does that mean? 2 eligible receivers on each side. If you look when they first come to the line, the Rams have usually a very base formation. And then using the changing of the formation, using the motion, the Rams will have the defense tip their hand. Are they running man? Are they running zone? And that's a really important part of what Sean McVay wants. He wants the defense not to be able to read what he is doing at sort of the start of the play.
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
He wants to be able to dictate to the defense of how they play defense. And that's a very, very important part of it. The third component of the Rams that's really, really important is they run a lot of these what we call compressed sets or squeeze sets, this compressed formation. It's very, very interesting when you talk to offensive coordinators, right? It's two philosophies. Like, some people love to spread. Why? Because they want to ISO, right? They want to get certain guys isolated on other guys. But what's really interesting, there are a lot of really good offensive coordinators. They love compressed formations. Do you know why? Because from this compressed formation, there's a lot more space for your wide receiver or your slot player to take advantage of that defensive player. Classic point is Cooper Kupp out of the slot. Cooper Kupp out of the slot, think about it. He used to run a lot of these choice routes, or you could line him up and he would have a two-way go. In his heyday, Cooper Kupp with a two-way go, it's a wrap, right? That's a reception, and that's big yardage usually. So from these compressed formations to to someone looking at it says, oh, it doesn't really look like a passing formation, but it really is, because the last thing the defense wants to do is get outflanked. So the defense now is going to match that formation, try to stay outside of it a bit, right, and compress itself also. Now you can use that and think about the jet motion now. I get Puka Nacua, right, Puka Nails running that jet motion. He's got momentum. He turns the corner. Now he's going into his route, not from a standing position mark, with a ton of momentum. And now he can beat that corner or who's ever covering him, right? The safety, linebacker, because now he's got more momentum than the other guy. So there's a lot of things that they do from that compressed formation in the passing game. Also, they run very, very well from that compressed formation in the running game. And now you see the Rams lead the league in what we call, everybody loves to talk about it, right? That power run scheme, that duo, right? The double at the point of attack. So where did all this come from was in response to the 61 defense that used to give McVay fits. We saw that in the Super Bowl, right? We saw that Vic Fangio defense, right, give him fits in the Super Bowl and other teams that ran it against the Rams. Well, when you play the 61, so you have your compressed formation, well, what does the defense do? Well, we'll put 6 guys in the line of scrimmage. And what they want to do now, when the Rams used to run that zone running game, is instead of running upfield, what they do is, we talked about this when we did our D-line segment, right? The gap and a half concept, right? Get upfield, hold your ground, and do not let those linemen move left, right. Create all that clutter so you can't get to the outside in that zone run, in those zone runs that McVay loves. So to counter that, how do you beat the 61? Well, think about this, Mark. There's only one linebacker. Get to the second level. If you get to the second level, the 61 is done, because behind them, they're usually running quarters coverage, which is off coverage. Correct? So there's 3 ways to really attack that 61. The one is run it right at them. Power. Run it right at them. What did the Rams do this year? They loaded up. Blue Thunder, right? They loaded up. 300-pound linemen going right after the defense, and that's what they're going to do. You load up on the 61, they're going to run it right at you, and we know what's going to happen. Iron Kyren and Blake the Great, they're going to get big yards.
So do you think...
Go ahead.
Do you think the Brock Bowers pursuit was an indication they might be going to 12 personnel more? Or at least they were. I don't know if they have the tight ends to do that now.
So here's the thing. Think about this now. So they signed a tight end for fairly big money. They also had Davis Allen, right? So, but here's the thing. They could roll out 2 tight ends out of their base 11 formation, even though it's a tight end, but they're going to run the same principles off their base 11. So the way the other teams use 2 tight ends, the Rams might use it completely differently. They might use Davis Allen like a wide receiver because he's a really good wide receiver.
So you're saying that whether it's 11 personnel or 12 personnel, it's really the same product.
I think they're going to run. I personally love the 2 tight end setup, but I think what they're going to do is more, I think we're going to see the 2 tight ends get incorporated in a lot more later in the game when the Rams get out into a lead and they want to go power heavy. I think you're going to see that. I also think you're going to see it more inside the 20. As McVay gets more confidence in the running game, I think you're going to see that. As he gets more confidence in the running game, I think he's going to lean on it a little bit more. I think McVay knows one of the things that's very apparent. The NFL now knows McVay's tendencies, and that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to break tendencies. One thing that the Rams do really, really well that they have not been able to do efficiently is go empty out of their 11. When we've seen it many, many times, they take Iron Kyren, and they put him out there on the line, and they go empty. That's one of the things that I think McVay wants to do, because that's another part of it. Think out of your 11, if you can go empty and get that extra receiver out there, that defense is going to be in trouble. And that's what I think that they want to do. And when we start talking about that, Ram Nation, and you're going to see that. You're going to see the Rams run those shallow crosses now when they do that. And as these teams start running those off coverages, right? For those of you that love the air raid offensive style, you're going to see those mesh routes, maybe those shallow crosses. And in the heyday of Marshall Faulk, those running backs running those wheel routes, right? And those angle routes out of the backfield. That is probably the missing link to this offense. If they can do that efficiently, man, it is going to be something to see. Blue Thunder is going to be rolling.
So what are the odds? What are the chances they're going to actually run a 22?
I think we'll see it probably, like I said, I think we'll see it. I think we'll see it late in the games when they're running the ball a little bit more. I think we'll see it situationally inside the red zone. I think we will see it, but I think we have very athletic tight ends for a reason. He's not going to use them like, 3 yards and a cloud of dust, except, when they're trying to squeeze the clock. I think that late, that drive, that game in Detroit, I think it really showed the Rams a lot, the importance of a quality running game and how important it is. I also think they realized they got to keep Stafford healthy. He cannot absorb the amount of abuse. And the way they're going to do that is, I think, in certain key elements of the game, I think they're going to run the ball a lot more. But I think we definitely will see. They've invested a lot of money in tight ends, and they have a lot of quality talent there. In the past, they really haven't. They really haven't run two tight ends, but I think we're going to see it definitely this year.
Yeah, the 22 is not something doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I have seen it out there. So I thought I've seen people throwing that out there as a possible alignment the Rams may use with those two running backs. So I thought I'd throw it out there. Doesn't really make a lot of sense from where I'm sitting, but what do I know?
Which is why I think the Brock Bowers mention, I think it made some sense to me, is that Brock Bowers, if you had him out there, let's just say, theoretically, is he a wide receiver or is he a tight end? Right? He's probably, from the, not just from the scouting report, but if you watch his film, I mean, he is an uber physical tight end. When you see him, holy cow, he does not go down on first contact. He's extremely physical, right? And he's extremely talented. So if you ran him out there, could you line him out wide? 100%. Could you put him as an inline blocker? 100%. Could you run jet motion with him and let him carry the rock a little bit? 100%. So that's the type of versatility they're talking about with the tight end. Davis Allen, to me, I mean, he's a little bit different type of player, but he has that talent level that if you get him downfield, he can sky for the ball. He can do a lot. So I think the Rams have a lot of talent with tight ends. I think they're going to explore that position a little bit more, how they can incorporate them. But the Rams are not going to go away from that base 11, and they're not going to go away from that compressed formation because they run everything out of that.
Yeah, that's a good perspective that maybe a lot of us have forgotten about. You're talking about drafting Brock Bowers and you're scratching your head going, why another tight end? But then when you put it that way, where he's a guy that would give the Rams ultimate flexibility when he's out there, you can line him up anywhere, you can use him any way you want, and just makes the offense that much more deadly. Now, you wanted to talk, we talked through those different alignments. We didn't really get into the pistol specifically. Mm-hmm. Did you have anything to say on that?
So I think that the interesting thing about this is, so when people talk about, the shotgun, it's such a passing friendly offense, right? Think about this from the college level. How many teams ran like the run pass option out of the shotgun? Incredible running teams, right? It was unbelievable, right? Using that. So we've seen the shotgun also be used very heavily to run the ball. I think what's interesting, and I think back, there was a tremendous discussion on one of the ESPN NFL shows about being under center. And I was shocked how many NFL players love being under center. And I remember back Bill Walsh, when Bill Walsh, who we know is an absolute genius, right? He hated the shotgun. Bill Walsh hated the shotgun. He loved his quarterback being under center. And the rationale was this. He never wanted his quarterback to take his eyes off the defense. And he felt in the shotgun, when the ball is snapped, right, the quarterback is looking at catching the ball as opposed to looking at the defense. And a lot of defenses now, that's what they'll do. They'll give you a look. As soon as the ball is snapped, then they come. Because by the time that the quarterback, right, catches the ball, now the quarterback has to sort of verify everything that they've seen pre-snap. The other thing that Bill Walsh didn't like was the chances of an issue with the snap, right? Particularly when you got a heavy blitz packages coming up the middle or a heavy rush coming up the middle. So, and interesting enough, Bill Walsh said the fastest way to get the ball out, three-step drop, coming back from under center, hence the West Coast offense. So I think every one of these formations, shotgun, pistol, under center, right? Depending on, they all have their advantages, they all have their disadvantages. It has to do with your personnel. Now, the greatest thing, in my opinion, about the shotgun, when you think about it in the modern day, is that, number one, quarterback can survey the field, correct? Quarterback is already at maximum depth. Talk about a 7-step drop, already at maximum depth. So they're clear advantage. The difference is if you have a mobile quarterback, the shotgun is deadly. The shotgun is deadly because remember, the defense in a traditional sense has an advantage over the offense. They're a +1. Because if you don't have a mobile quarterback, what does the safety do? Play pass defense. Correct? Now, if you have a mobile quarterback, that quarterback's unaccounted for. Patrick Mahomes, makes sense? Right? Go Steve Young. Remember Steve Young? Right? What about Lambeau Lamar? You see all these situations. So a lot of it has to do with personnel. The pistol, why I think it's so perfect for the Rams is this. It allows them to give and I don't want to use the word compromise because it's not a compromise. What the pistol is, it allows you to give equal emphasis on the running game and the passing game out of a single formation, right? And I think you guys did a great job of pointing that out at your roundtable segment. You can go left, right. It doesn't really matter. It's hard for a team to key on that formation because the running back is almost like in a traditional lineup behind the quarterback. It also gives a great amount of deception to the quarterback. One thing that people overlook is Matthew Stafford is a great ball handler, man. He's like a point guard. Watch him with his fakes. You even see him do those option tosses when they want to get the ball outside sometimes. So it's really, really nice for Staff when he's in the pistol because he gets to use that ability to sort of deceive the defense a little bit more when he's got his back to the line of scrimmage. So I think that's another advantage. But the pistol allows you to run the ball, I think, a little bit more efficiently than the shotgun. And at the same time, the Rams are a throw-first team. There's no doubt about it. If the Rams can reach 45-55 ratio, right, run to pass, which I think is the optimum ratio for the Rams in that region, 45-55, I think it's going to be very, very apparent of why the pistol is the perfect alignment for the Rams. They can threaten left. They can threaten right. They can threaten the A, B, C, and outside gaps from that same, and we just talked about it. How important is it for Sean McVay to have a base offense where the defense has to respect the entire field horizontally as well as vertically, the running game as well as the passing game. And that's why the pistol suits the Rams.
Good stuff. Good explanation. And we're going to probably be getting into that more and more. We're all learning along with you and Ian. This is great stuff. I think we're ready for our Fearsome Four Questions. You ready for that?
All right, hit me.
Yeah. And for those of you longtime listeners out there, I've done this on occasion, my Fearsome Four Questions, and I've thrown out these random questions, and then I try to answer them myself, and I have no idea how often I'm correct. Probably less than I would like to be, but I thought I'd give Paul a shot at these Fearsome Four questions. And here we go, Paul. Question number one. Who you got winning the AFC, or a better way of putting it is, who is the biggest threat to the Chiefs in the AFC this year?
Ooh. Oh, man. So
have you heard my Super Bowl prediction yet? That may be a
what's
clue.
your Super Bowl prediction?
Do you want it? Well, I'll tell you afterwards.
Okay, listen, I am, and Ram Nation knows this. There is no objectivity on my side of it, right? I'm going to run with the Bengals because we know why. Their head coach came from where, Mark?
Yeah, another
he's got Burrow, and I love Burrow. So I'm gonna roll with the Bengals.
Yeah, my Super Bowl prediction was the Rams-Texans, so I guess my answer would be the Texans.
Nice.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Texans. Yeah. Question number two, who will lead the Rams in sacks? And now I already mentioned they don't have a lot of guys with, well, they really have nobody with a bunch of career sacks. I think Hoecht is number one. Mm-hmm. Got to think about Kobe Turner, your Monster Zero, a couple of rookies. Who you got?
So listen, I think if I had to go with something, I'm going to go with the conductor. The conductor is going to spend a lot of time in the backfield, and it's perfect. We got the conductor and we got bars, and music to our ears. There we go.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'd be torn between Verse, Young, and Turner, but I'll roll with your answer for this one. And again, the Behind the Grind episode 3, a lot of Kobe Turner singing. You might enjoy it. Question number 4, and it's way too early for this, but hey, everybody's probably already starting to ask this question. What position will the Rams target in the first round of the 2025 draft? Now, this is working under the assumption that they keep that pick, and that could change sometime this year. We know how the Rams roll. If they're looking strong and making a Super Bowl run, which we fully expect, they may end up with no 2025 first-round pick. But if they have a pick next year, right now, what position do you think they target?
I think the Rams go, wow. So, obviously, late in the draft, in the round 1, right?
32nd pick.
I think they're going to go O-line. I think they're going to go O-line. That's a nice way to save money on your roster. I think they're going to go LSU offensive tackle, Emory Jones.
Yeah, that was my first guess, would be a left tackle. Sorry, Alaric Jackson. I no disrespect to you. I think cornerback could be another way they go. Certainly not going to be edge rusher. That would be a really big surprise. So, yeah, I'm rolling with you that on the tackle position, offensive line for sure. Question number 4, and please, this question is perfect for you, Paul. Who gets more snaps, Jordan Whittington or Tutu Atwell this year?
That's a great question. Oh, man. Honestly, listen, I have to say this. When I saw that video clip, Ram Nation, of after the draft where they picked Cam Kinchins, and I saw that clip of celebration between Tutu and Cam, and they were best of friends. I have to say, Mark, I had a little bit of a change of heart about Tutu. I want him to do well. I want him to be successful. I think, Whit is just, man, he has such physicality and such talent. He's
perfect for this offense, right?
He really, really is, and he's a vicious blocker. But I do think the Rams are going to try to get Tutu in motion a lot more, get him upfield, get him vertical. The Rams have to get more vertical routes, successful vertical routes, get those chunk plays. I think Tutu's going to get one more shot at it. I think the Rams have enough quality in front of Jordan to keep his reps down a little. So I'm going to go with Tutu. I think Tutu's going to get a shot to be a game breaker.
Yeah, who knows? It could depend on injuries, God forbid. Yeah. But, Whittington just seems like such a great fit. But Tutu, he Yeah, the touchdown against the Lions, that was a good sign. They need to get him out in open space like that more often. We've been saying that since the day they drafted him. So I'm hoping both those guys get on the field a little bit. They're probably going to be, the number 4 and 5 wide receiver. Tyler Johnson, he could be in the mix as well. One of these rookies.
Love the Tyler Johnson signing. And once again, and Mark, to your point, this is what we're talking about. Look at the depth of the wide receiver. So whatever McVay runs out there, do you have a problem with any makeup of the tight ends and wide receivers we have just cited in any combination thereof, right? Being on the field for 10 consecutive plays?
Right.
Do we have any problem with them? Do we feel that's going to take away from the offensive sort of the robustness of the offense? Absolutely not. And that's the beauty of what McVay does out of that base 11. I think we're going to see many more empty formations when that 2-and-2 motion going bunch, all sorts of different things, and winding up empty and really stressing this defense, but stressing them vertically.
Yeah, it'll be fun, and we'll find out a lot about Jordan Whittington in the preseason if he plays. I'm assuming he'll play, but he might not. He might not see the field. I know people are on comments in the YouTube channel were saying, "Oh, he's going to play." But,
he's going to play.
Yeah,
there's no way to get that kid off the field. No way.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But if he doesn't play, you know what that means, right? That means he is going to play once the real thing, opening day comes around.
Let's get Tutu into space. Let that kid cook, man. Listen, it's about, he's been on the team long enough. It's his last shot. Let's use it to our advantage. Let's get him into space. Let him run. Let's use that motion to get him free. Let him, get, like I said, get some momentum, a running start, and let him outflank the defense, man. I think, he was able to do it in Louisville. I think he might be re-energized that his buddy's on the team now. That makes a big deal. Listen, I think Tutu's going to surprise. I'm pulling for you,
good.
Tutu.
I'm glad you feel that way. I'm glad you feel that way. Hey, so next time, I need you to go. I got a homework assignment for you. Go watch the Behind the Grind episode 3, and either next roundtable or the next Walia's World. Let's talk about the Rams running back room. I'm really excited about it.
Oh. I love to run the rock, man. I cannot wait to see Iron Kyron and Blake the Great. They are going to do damage.
Yeah, I think that running back room is so deep and talented. Feel really good about it. Okay, Paul. Absolutely. Thanks a lot for your time. We'll do this again. We probably might not have a roundtable this week, but we'll get together soon enough for either another roundtable or Walia's World. Lots of fun. Thanks a lot for your time.
All right, Beast Coast, baby. Ram Nation, make sure you subscribe.
Okay, yeah, subscribe, please. And one last reminder, almost forgot, we're doing that Rapping with Ram Fans segments. If you're a Ram fan out there and you want to come on the show and talk about how you became a Ram fan and all that good stuff, send me an email when I get that rolling. Okay, Paul, thanks a lot. Out here from Rams Up.
Ramley forever.
That's going to do it for this episode. Remember, you can reach us at ramsuppodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget about our YouTube channel. Our handle is at laramsup.com. Till next time, keep the horns up, stay safe, and have fun out there.